Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Good afternoon, citizens of West Africa, citizens of Senegambia, citizens of the Gambia and Senegal, and to our brothers and sisters in the entire continent of Africa, home and abroad, and to every person we live with in this world who is searching for justice, peace, tranquility and progress. This is your brother Essa Bokarr back again on the airwaves with you on our today's program, which is the weekend special that I do present, accompanied by our able brother Aidara on the background, and then helping us with the machine and all the equipment that would facilitate for you, the audience, to hear my voice and analysis on any subject matter. Our theme today on this program, known as the Weekend Special, is a new phenomenon in Africa, particularly matters related to security, politics, and social issues or compelling circumstances that are definitely affecting the people of Africa and the societies within Africa itself. To be more precise, our part of Africa, which is the West. We are here to use critical thinking, security, culture, theology, justice, and of course politics to diagnose and analyze this worrisome phenomenon, which is sectarian violence. I mean, we have all seen that it is one of those aspects that are definitely affecting our lives and livelihood within and outside our continent. Africa had or has been going through rough times, turbulent zones from the time of slavery to now, but this particular phenomenon, if added to what has already caused scars and old wounds in Africa, would definitely make us go back to the drawing board or to square one instead of pushing us forward. It is a complex issue that needs to be taken very seriously, that one should also need to analyze from all angles and all sides, coming forward with suggestions and then ultimately solutions. The phenomenon or the aspect of sectarian violence within our continent as we speak, particularly West Africa and the most recent, which is Central African Republic, is something certain individuals who are claiming to derive justifications from theology are using for their own interest, be they individuals, reading groups, or be they associations, who have or who are affiliated to organs or people or regions within and outside Africa. We must face reality and understand that this is something we cannot ignore. Now, let's use critical thinking here. There are those who claim to be deriving their justifications from theology and then branching off from the dashboard or the mother earth of the discussion or the analysis today, which is theology, and then we will be able to break it into pieces and bring forward some analysis that will definitely end up into solutions. But before that, one need to bear in mind that, theology, faith, or anything you call it, by looking at the people who conduct such operations, we can situate them, into the following categories. Like, there are those who are deriving justification from theology who live within us, understanding the discipline being taught by theology. They are the faithful, the patient, and of course the tolerant. I would not use words like the moderate or the extreme. I would come forward and use a term called the responsible and the irresponsible, because in faith or in a religion like Islam, I don't think there is any scale that can measure who is moderate or who is extreme, when truth, justice, and the true meaning of theology itself is put into its proper perspective. Because there is no measurement as far as being faithful and then being obedient and being a worshipper is concerned. What we see in our continent today is responsible people who lean on theology and irresponsible people who lean on it for the wrong reasons. Of course, most of these reasons are pegged on subjectivity, not objectivity. So we can say there are those who, in fact, we are not going to say there are those, but the pivot of this globe of activities that some of them call theology is the sense of feeling. Because the people who are involved in such operations verily understand how to test the pulse of society, how to color the feeling of people or society or societies, and then propel those by using desire. Here we'll draw ourselves back to a philosopher who said, thought propelled by desire is not pure thought. There are people who would argue and say, what about if I am desirous to be good? If the moment you turn good into something subjective that belongs to you and your heart and your mind, then understand that you are being propelled by desire, and that is where words like extremism stem from. Now, if we use feelings the sense of feeling as a pivot, here we will come to see that there are those who lean on theology, calling themselves the faithful and the pure before the Creator. Who qualified them to be in that position? Their own desires. Because most of those people are not following even the most basic criteria that we have learned as far as Islam is concerned, or even Christianity. Now, coming on that point, they know how to propel their views and ideas also, and how to color the feelings of society. I mean, they will come forward, and there are these three categories that I promised to bring forward earlier on. There are those within theology for the sake of it, simply because they are educated and they believe and obedient and tolerant. There are those who use feeling and then attach it to mundane desires. Some of these people would not hesitate to abandon faith to follow desires stemming from culture, of course still subjective, stemming from traditions, of course stemming from still subjective, and also the worst part of it is those who attach everything to material. Then there comes the difference between faith, spirituality, mundane desires, and material. These are the two columns so far. The one in the middle is those who deliberately want to make society believe that they derive justification from theology, but at the same time using it as a propeller to expand territory, to maintain themselves in power by using the three paradigms of authority, which is of course linked to the traditional part of it or the cultural part of it. Some of it is also linked to the state. Some of it is also legal, or maybe one could say the political and the legal side of it. Then self-mystification is made possible by those who want to make society believe that their authority is derived from the divine side of things. And then it comes to a point where human nature or the person's feelings are propelled by desire to a certain point that the individual will want to justify himself by or herself by using self-mystification or personality cult. Those particular individuals are in the middle, and then they would pinch both sides. They do pinch theology and then pinch mundane desires and use both wherever they feel that the two could be advantageous for them. And these are the kind of people we have in West Africa and Africa today. There is what I will say, or what I will push forward as an argument, that is where it stems from. I mean, the desirous part of their feelings to promote, I mean, sectarian violence. And then I just don't understand where theology, which is here to teach us about how to worship the Lord, or why it should be used and then personalized or kept for a particular group or person to use against others. Unfortunately, in today's society or in today's world, especially what we see in West Africa, those who gain the upper hand do not have an idea of what theology means, but they use it to justify the existence of the regimes they lead, or the sects they lead, or the factions they lead. Some of them claim to know what theology teaches, but would turn around and deliberately use it to mesmerize society. Therefore, their position is more or less the porous fence that made it easy for versions like what we heard from Marx earlier on, or earlier, before, years back, that religion is the opium of the people. I mean, that is not true. But such individuals who we have categorized in the middle are the ones who make it possible for versions like that to come out of Marx's head, and other people used it to justify the means of promoting whatever ideology they have, to replace theology with ideology. But at the same time, those people also ended up being oppressors. So where does the answer lie? The answer lies in truth. The answer lies also, of course, the answer begins with education. If one is educated and understands what theology itself really means, be it Christianity or be it Islam or any other theology for that matter, you would come to know that if it is used for the right reason, and if it is understood by studying it and going way beyond the normal just to understand every little part of it, then one will come to discover that wherever war erupts, wherever clashes are, wherever skirmishes are, wherever there is a shootout, wherever there is sectarian violence, the first victim is theology itself. Absolutely. So, coming back to Islam itself, what have we been taught? We've been taught that the Creator, Allah, said, "Know me before you worship me." But the danger lies here, where somebody believes he knows him, Allah, and then is forcing what is in his or her mind into your mind without teaching you about what you are being forced to follow. Obviously, if the latter wasn't a valuable point, I wonder why universities like Al-Azhar exist. I also wonder why schools of thought, religious houses and leaders or sheikhs within our own region in West Africa came to existence. So I would argue that, in all honesty, one can draw back to West Africa and find a solution to sectarian violence within the entire continent of Africa. If we want to export it after we solve our own problems home, then that would be good. We are going to use the case study of Senegal and the Gambia, Mali and other parts of our continent, of our part of West Africa, to justify our analysis, and then to justify the suggestions we have today, then put them forward so that they can be added to the stream that is flowing towards a destiny known as solution. Because diplomacy itself has certain terms that can be very useful in helping solve this issue that is right before us. It's worrisome, it's fatal, and definitely it is meant for nothing other than retrogress, sectarian violence. Now, when you think about terms like bilateral relations and terms like multilateral relations and put them into their proper perspective, you will come to understand why a tool like diplomacy is used to solve problems, is used in conflict resolution. Therefore, if these terms were borrowed and used, of course not borrowed, but were revived, because I can tell you that the true meaning of the term bilateral relations and multilateral relation in fact exist in theology well before diplomacy itself came into existence. But interest groups, people who are promoting personality cult and all that, wouldn't want to stand on the platform of impartiality to promote theology. Therefore, what do they use? They propel their thought with desire and end up being extremists. Most of the time, extremism is attached to mundane desires, expanding power, controlling economy, and then entrenching oneself by using threats, terror, and everything attached to the latter. Now, there is a solution that can be advanced as far as what we have inherited in the Senegambia area is concerned, and of course West Africa. Because let's say sects like the Tijaniya movement, you would understand that how did West Africa, particularly the Senegambia area, then extending it to Mali and other places like Guinea and Guinea-Conakry or so, Sierra Leone, how did this area stabilize our societies? Because the term separating state from the mosque or from the temple or from the synagogue or from the church, if you observe it very well, in fact, it has been made possible by the Tijaniya sect, by the Muridiya sect, and then by the school of the Tijaniya in Kaolack, Tiwawon, and Tuba. Not to talk about Sheikh Umar Futi Yutal and the Talen. Now, what do I mean here? The point is this. Such paths, if followed, do discipline people to be tolerant, democratic, obedient, and of course, attracted to education. Any one of these people within these societies or these paths has a vast knowledge in different fields, but that doesn't stop them from being faithful, being obedient, and then worship when it is time to do so. So it is more or less a path or paths that can educate society on the true meaning of civilization without interfering with the modus operandi of a state or participants from the political field. Now, look at it this way. When Sheikh Umar Futi came to expand these same teachings and everything, of course, prior to the existence of others like Al-Haji Malik Si, Sheikh Ahmad Bamba, Sheikh Al-Islam, and others, Sheikh Umar Futi was there. But you also have the Mother Earth, the source of everything, which is Sheikh Tijan Sharif in Fez. Now, where does the discipline I'm talking about, where can one locate it? Look at it this way, and then I'm going to read you something about an event that is going to take place in the United Kingdom. It is an event that will take place very soon, and therein one will come to realize what I mean by the acceptance of the existence of the Tijaniya movement as a route of discipline and of course organizational discipline. Now, when one thinks about things like, let me go ahead and tell you this. In fact, who is Sheikh Ahmed Tijan Sharif? Sheikh Ahmed Tijan Sharif received the maqama of the seal of Muhammadan sainthood, which is Hatimul Wilaya Muhammadiyah. He surpasses all waliyus in maqama. Of course, one can say in grade. This divine gift was given to him on the 17th of Safar, 1200 years after Hijrah. Okay. And then the followers of the teachings of Sheikh Tijan Sharif in our part of the world, of course, Sheikh like Umar al-Futi Tal, Sheikhs like Ahmad Bamba Khadimu Rasul, Sheikhs like Al-Hajj Malik Si Maudo, Sheikhs like Al-Hajj Ibrahim Niass Di Bay Niass. And then you can go back to the time of people who were fighting against domination whilst expanding the true meaning of theology by using discipline, not force. King Maba Jahuba. During his time, you had the father of the great Sheikh Ahmad Bamba Khadimu Rasul, Mamor Antasali, and others. Now, all these people have gifts from Allah, from God. But what has tranquilized our part of the world as far as sectarian violence is concerned, they all submit and subdue and accept that the leader they recognize is Sheikh Ahmad Tijan Sharif. Therefore, even if there was to be a difference between one or two of these sects, at the end of the day, they will end at one focal point, that each one of them will be reminded that, no, this is not for you or me, it is for us. We live in different houses with different colors, but we live within the same town, city, or village. That is what it means. Therefore, it becomes neighborhood. Therefore, it becomes society. Therefore, it becomes one ummah. So why do people who drink from the same sea, who drink from the same river, who drink from the same well, would want to poison the water that they used to drink and water their plants? That, if done, is definitely not far away from mental insanity. If one uses extreme desires, especially those attached to mundane things, then one is definitely not far away from mental instability. Therefore, one of the causes of mental instability is anxiety. So we will come back to justify again one more thing. Sometime in the past, we came and warned our part of the society in West Africa against the phenomenon of the Salafists, Wahhabis, and all this stuff, because we don't need anybody who uses something similar to what you want us to live, or something worse than what you want us to live, and then substitute it with what you teach us, with your desires of expanding territory. Now, there are rules of engagement in everything that one does, or in every organization, or between societies, like state-to-state relation, people-to-people relation. In fact, during the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I think one could say people-to-people relations is what preceded anything, because he was in a king, he was in a president. You cannot call him a king, you cannot call him a president, he is a prophet. So he encouraged people-to-people relation. You all remember the delegation that went to Abyssinia, and then they met that king who wasn't a Muslim, and he asked them to read part of what they want him to hear about their religion. And of course, when they did so with discipline, the rules of engagement, what did they end up achieving? A lot. That is what our own scholars in West Africa are doing today. When somebody stands out there, lashes at the West and say they're intolerant toward Islam, some of us who live here will tell you that is absolutely not true. Because we have seen practical things before our eyes, where the grandson of Ahmad Bamba Khadim Rasul Mamor comes here, leads a march, and people, followers, chant the great name of Allah, which is La ilaha illallah, in the middle of New York, and the mayor, the local authorities provide them police officers who guard them. So is the issue with the West or the people who are using theology to promote their desires in a very subjective way? I believe the latter is what I would go by, that those people use desire to propel their thinking within a theology that definitely is not coming from their minds. It is something that their minds should attract and be educated on. I would quote a verse from Surah Sabbi Isma Rabbikal A'la, which of course I have been mandated to use during this speech to justify a case by some landed scholars. There is this verse which says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Sanughriuka fala tansa illa ma sha Allah. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. Well, if we make a little mistake in the interpretation, forgive us, but the landed scholars, when they listen, they can break it into pieces, especially our brothers and sisters in West Africa who want to show the world that they can be one of those areas in the world that can help end sectarian violence in Africa without using arms, and that is possible. The verse said, we'll maintain the decrees as they come, as it pleases Allah. Any mistake, forgive me. But that is the idea. Now, if there is any area that somebody is expected to maintain a decree as it comes, is that not being educated? What was the first word that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had from Angel Jibril? It is Iqra, learn or read. Therefore, to extend the justification of the Creator here saying, know me before you worship me, it's not like imitate the one who knows me before you worship me. Being educated and imitating are completely different things. You imitate somebody, you are blindly imitating the whims and caprices of an individual. But if you are educated on what the person knows, and it is not derived from his mind or a mind, this is a book that was brought to us, revealed to us. Therefore, nobody is better than the other when it comes to reading that book. It is to humanity, it is not to one family or one individual. Most of the time, it becomes more dangerous where desire, whilst being propelled in the being of a person, meets laziness and ignorance. That is very dangerous. That's what breeds terrorism, and that's what breeds extremism. The educated, and the educated who is sincere, not selfish, not greedy, would never be misled by somebody who brings in anything that can lead into sectarian violence. Now we use another justification. How many times do we have imams from our own part of the world who come here? Examples of imams like Imam Baba Mukhtar Ali do come here, deliver sermons in different parts of America, conducted tours organized by the US State Department, and invite people here to go around America. Some of their conferences are even organized in the area they call the Bible Belt here, It's not that I'm being an advocate of America. I'm just speaking the truth. Practically, I'm looking at it. And there is no way that you can please Allah when you see the truth practically and refuse to see it. Never. Now, the other part of it is that we have today the following event that is going to take place in London. And this is being promoted by scholars from West Africa. Before we go to that point, another Imam comes from the Gambia in the name of Al-Hajj Muhammadul Amin Bah. He delivers sermons here. How about the legacy of the late Imam Hassan Sise, the grandson of Bainyas? We all know it. How about the participation of landed scholars who are sons of Maudo Malik Sy? Some of them are grandsons. Particularly people like Sheikh Ahmed Sy, presently residing in Washington, D.C. Others and others and others. How about the powerful sermons of Ustaz Baraham Job? How about the powerful sermons of the landed scholar Baba Lamin Niass and others and others? Are they being stopped when they come here to deliver their sermons, to speak to people? They're from West Africa. Each one of these people I've mentioned here, those are the ones who promote discipline in Atlanta and other places, especially Sheikh Hassan Sise and his scholars. They all derive that discipline they have used here and accommodated within the United States of America, England and France and other parts of the Western Hemisphere. They derive these teachings from what I told you about Sheikh Tijan, well, Sheikh Ahmad Tijan Sharif in Fez, Morocco. Each one of them. Before we end the program, we want to draw your attention to another justification. An event known as the Laylatul Hatmiya and Katmiya, excuse me for the pronunciation, is going to be commemorated in the United Kingdom to mark the event that I said earlier on, which is the divine gift that was given to Sehna Ahmad Tijan Sharif on the 17th of Safar, which is 1,200 years after Hijrah. What are they going to do during that event, which is going to be held in London? They will do a special prayer at the Zumunta Mosque in 401 to 405 Green Street, Upton Park, on Sunday, the 22nd day of December, the year 2013. Brothers and sisters, tell me, if this society was intolerant to receive people to speak about their faith, what they believe in, would they allow this event to take place? Why are they being allowed? Because they use the teachings of Sheikhna Ahmad Tijani Sharif. They use the teachings of Maudo Malik Sy. They use the teachings of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba Khadimu Rasul. They use the teaching of Sheikh al-Islam. They use the teaching of our Wilaya, the Tals, the sons and grandsons of Sheikh Omar Futi Tal, and all our scholars within the Gambia. That is why when they come here, they are accommodated, they are given a place, they are guarded, and they speak about what they believe in. So you will see that why should we accept to be identified as those who fight amongst themselves, when in actual fact we are the ones who should be the peacemakers, we are the ones who should be the most tolerant. And if we use that, I use certain verses here in all my programs all the time. If we know the true meaning of those verses, I have no idea how sectarian violence can erupt amongst us. I always remind myself of this every morning and I do quote it on the program, Fasbir, Sabran Jamilan, Inna Allaha Ma'asabirin. You have to be patient, and you must do it in the most appropriate way, in the nicest of ways, because the Creator Allah is with the patient. So that is why West Africa's model, and then drawing it back to Senegambia region, we have a package that we can share with the world that we believe can definitely curb whatever violence that is being used to justify maintaining or expanding religion. That is not religion. That is not Islam. That sectarian violence, those who are leading these sects are the ones who want to propel their desires within what they call theology, when in actual fact that is not the true meaning of theology. Refer back to my justifications earlier on. Today, what do we have? The threat in Africa or West Africa is sectarian violence. We have seen what existed in Mali. Who brought it over there? We have heard about Libya rushing towards introducing Sharia law, where we have mafiosi groups led by Libyans and Ghanaians extorting money from West Africans who are traveling via Niger before they reach the coast of Tripoli and then join the ships or boats to be taken to the islands in Italy. Is that religion? Those are the people that we hear about sectarian violence. This is not sectarian violence. These are armed bandits trying to expand territory and also using desire to propel their feelings within theology, when in actual fact they are misfits within theology itself. This is what exists in Central African Republic. This is what Africa should stand up against and fight and remove. And West Africa, particularly those people I mentioned here, and those people who can travel all over the world, deliver their sermons, organize their conferences without being interrupted, they have a package that can be used as a solution for what we call today sectarian violence. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters.